Stabilizing wedges by Krista and Cassidy. This wedge would be achieved if the fuel efficiency of all cars were doubled from 30 miles per gallon to 60 miles per gallon. This would result by the year 2050 that about 2 billion cars would be efficient. The cost of this is very minimum. The challenges in this are the car size and the amount of power in the vehicle.
We chose this wedge because cars create so many emissions, and if it's changed, that would be very helpful.
This wedge would be achieved if the number of miles traveled by passenger or freight vehicles were cut in half. The cost of this is very minimum. The challenges in this are increased public transport and an urban-type design.
We chose this wedge because transportation, like carpooling, is very self-sufficient and would create less emissions.
This wedge would increase efficiency of the power generation, raising plant efficiency from 40% to 60%. The price is minimum. Challenges are an increase of plant costs.
We chose this because it's cheap and would help diffuse coal emissions.
If coal-burning electric plants were replaced with natural gas plants, it would require 1,400 billion plants. The cost of this would be minimum. Challenges of this wedge is the availability of natural gas.
We chose this wedge because it also reduces coal carbon emissions.
If coal-burning electric plants were replaced with nuclear plants, it would cut emissions by 1 wedge. The price of this would be semi-expensive. The disadvantages of this wedge is the nuclear waste and local opposition.
We chose this wedge because nuclear energy is interesting and it's also clean, unless it explodes.
If coal-based electricity was replaced with PV electricity, it would result in clean energy. This would cost a very high amount of money. Challenges would consist of the photovoltaic cell materials.
We chose this wedge because it's the absolute cleanest way to power things.
If petroleum fuels were replaced with biomass fuels from plantations, it would increase ethanol production by 12 times. The price of this is semi-expensive. Challenges are biodiversity and competition for land use.
We chose this wedge because it will help create cleaner emissions for fuel and it's also a renewable resource.
This wedge is the use of carbon stored in the forest and would help by stopping deforestation in 50 years. The cost is low, but a challenge would be biodiversity and competition for land.
We chose this because we are very eco-friendly and this will help the environment. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, we were told to have 6 groups of people evaluate us. Taxpayers gave us a 4 because a lot of our wedges are cheap. They do not cost as much as others. Energy companies will give us a 3 because we still use a lot of energy. However, we don't use as much as they'd like. For example, solar. Environmental groups will like this and give us a 3 because we are sufficiently environmentally friendly. But we do use nuclear energy, which is bad. Manufacturers will give us a 4 and will like this because they will be able to create more items to help us with the wedges. Industrialized country governments will give us a 4 because it's cost efficient towards cars, but on the other side, a developing country government will give us a 2 because they don't have as many cars.